Okay. So there were three other characters that retroactively had been kind of pursuing a group known as Smokework for months. They each had their own agendas for trying to hunt down Smokework, and I believe we're all sponsored by Vox to work together in this
Mhm.
pursuit.
An important note, really fast, is Vox. So, of all the cities, Vox is one that's based a lot around. It's like a magocracy, like it's run by magic, and the person running that city is like the high mage, and she was in charge, and it was just a very magic heavy
Yeah,
place.
very magic tech oriented, most advanced technologically of the Torchline, and as far as we know, the world. Um, the um, the three characters were Vane Yara, Orryn Ironhelm, played by
The first one's AJ.
yeah, then Orryn Ironhelm, played by Devon, and Vinaya. I don't does Vinaya have a last name?
No.
Yeah,
No.
whom Tracy plays. Vane is a high elf the of the house noble house Menthaliara, and he uh, the noble house of Menthaliar is a house of Vox. So they're all his whole family is there, and has a reputation for being involved in magical research and stuff. And he was pursuing fame and glory. That was his aim with the pursuit of Smokework, was to build a legend as a hero. I'll let the others speak to the Orryn and Vinaya.
Tracy, you want to go first?
Sure. Vinaya was a priest of a temple in Umalara. The way that I've kind of been envisioning Umalara's like theological situation is that it's like a lot of like it's very Buddhism influenced, and it's sort of a lot of like folk gods question mark demigods like heroic people that are worshipped to um sort of to the point of godhood, or maybe they're all facets of a singular Buddha, like who knows, cosmology gets weird. But Vinaya's temple where she grew up was the temple to the reclining shepherd, and so she's a priest of the reclining shepherd. And Smokework reportedly stole relics from her. Well, not really reportedly. I mean, they did. They stole relics from her temple, including a really rare handwritten book, like a collected tome of the reclining shepherd's teachings, which is a thing that's very very precious, and very few of these exist, sort of in an entire form. So she set aside the 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 life of a priest tending to this temple and took on the mantle of a warrior, and has gone to go get it back and get revenge.
Dope.
And then Orryn. Orryn is a gnome, wild magic sorcerer. And he was just a sailor, and his ship was sunk, and he was the only surviving member. And after a bit of a bender through the Torchline, found out that Smokework was to blame, and got through very loosely defined story beats between me and Jared, found out that Vox could help him get revenge on the group from Smokework because they also wanted. Smokework is basically an anarchy group at this point in the story,
Like
anyways.
the bad kind.
Yeah, that's like, we want to destroy civilization, but not like the end goal isn't like no living people. It's no government, but whoever has to die in order to get there, like that's fine, whatever, burn it all. And so,
Nihilistic.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, And so between AJ looking for fame and Vinaya looking for the book stolen by Smokework and Orryn looking for revenge for his crew attacked by Smokework, all of us met from Vox in Vox and assembled as this group and sent on our way, where we ended up in through our trail of tracking them into Kundrakar.
Yeah.
AJ?
Yeah, I just wanted to note, just because prominent magic items, at this point we're given some magical items by Vox, who is sponsoring us. Vane got a headband of intellect, which is extremely noticeable. Was Jared's explicit words. Which allows him to have higher intelligence naturally than he has naturally. I don't know. I don't actually remember what you guys got for Orryn and Vinaya.
Oh, I got the Cloak of Protection,
Nice.
which is just +1 to AC, +1 to saves.
I got a rust bag of tricks, which lets me 3 times a day pull a little fuzzy ball out and throw it, and it turns randomly into an animal that I roll a d8 to establish.
Now,
That
sometimes
I control for 4 hours. Sometimes it's a giant boar, sometimes it's an owl. I also had a bubble pipe, which was my spellcasting implement, and that gets lost. And to this day, Orryn hasn't talked about it, but Devin has remembered, and Orryn hunts for that relic to be returned to him.
When was that when after the party wipe?
Yeah, when I lost all my stuff, that was one of the things that was. Alphen has my fucking bubble pipe, and that's like
Are you
70% of why I'm still on this journey.
So how are you casting spells?
I got it. We found a wand at some point.
Okay.
I'm using instead. Like I just found a generic one, and Orryn despises it, and every time he casts a spell, it sickens him.
It reminds him of his
This has
rage
been in my head for 3 years.
Reminds him of his rage for Alphen.
Yeah. Which we'll get to all that stuff, but yeah. So that was the important magical item that I had was this dropping animals out.
But yeah, so we started hunting for Smokework, and we picked after going through a couple of encounters with Smokework where we almost caught them and they caught everything on fire, and we left a burning building in our wake. Was the cliff notes that we were given of it. We caught the tail of a leader of Smokework known as Slade, who I believe was a Dragonborn.
A red Dragonborn.
A red Dragonborn? Got it. And we had another couple of encounters. I believe a library was one of the things that was mentioned that I think she burned down. We found her trail leading to the mountains and the mountain in which Kundrakar is. I can't remember what the name of that was. And
I said it earlier. Something. Stonetooth Mountain.
And we went to Stonetooth Mountain to hunt Slade there. We then ran into some orcs as we were hunting Slade. And I think that's the first time that we bumped into Rurik, Obadiah, and Audley.
Yes.
Yeah, you guys had bumped into us. We started talking, and then Slade and orcs showed up. I don't know if you guys were fighting orcs before then.
I thought
we weren't. No.
Oh, okay. I thought I had remembered us being in the middle of combat when we met, but I could have.
I think
be wrong.
I think
you
directions. I am.
You're cutting out, Devin.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we kind of.
Nope. Now we can.
I lost you again.
Your mic is fighting you. Nope.
Now? How about now?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
far.
Okay. We came from different directions to the same point
Yes.
and kind of caught each other. It led immediately into combat because we had both been tracking the same people from 2 different directions. And so we met each other in combat because it was kind of like, who are these people? And then both of us started fighting the same the same group, where Slade had been basically Smokework was trying to work with the orcs to take over the mountain so that Smokework could control the forge that could then make them weapons and things that they wanted that were magically imbued.
And something relatively of not particularly noticeable import, but actual import here is that Smokework operates in pods. They don't really communicate with one another as to their plans, or they mostly work in those tight groups that only communicate internally and get orders from down. So in theory, Slade had been given orders to seize Kundrakar here.
We actually I have a note about that later.
Oh yeah.
Oh, well, real quick, let me go through this and I'll get to that note real quick.
Mhm.
So yeah, combat ensues, but Slade runs away. But then it was just like one room or so.
Yeah.
And so we find in that next room, we find Slade and Ulf. And we start fighting, but Rurik goes down after Ulf crits him.
You say wolf?
Ulf,
Oh,
the orc from earlier.
Okay.
Yeah, Ulf crits crits Rurik. Rurik goes down. And now, if that had been the end of Rurik, I wouldn't have started this recording with "Let me tell you a story about Rurik." So, we eventually do beat Slade and Ulf. And here's where, Slade had a note on him saying that Ulf and his band refused to finish the job. We need the forge to move forward. Do not fail. So that's what I think AJ was talking about.
Could you say that? Could you say that again? I didn't remember this note.
The note was saying, Ulf and his band refused to finish the job. We need the forge to move forward. Do not fail.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And at that moment, or just after that moment, Alfin, who, if you remember, is Rurik's cousin, shows up. Oops.
So
Sorry.
we had cornered Slade, and we're
Yes,
questioning and
We had a something of an interrogation of Slade that I wish I remembered more of, but I do remember that I eventually got her to crack by threatening to lock her in.
You actually, I have a note that you rolled a nat 20 on your intimidation check.
Yeah.
And so Slade says that there's a meeting in the capital, which is Kronos, in 3 months, and that Smokework will be there, if that's what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Devin, I know you're trying to talk, but yeah, there you go.
Oh no.
Yep, there we go. I have to bend my I need to order a new microphone. An important note for that is that before we had really gotten into interrogating, Alfin had shown up and tried to enter the room, and Orryn had been like, "Who's this person?" And Rurik was like, "That's my cousin." I was like, "Oh, you've known him for a long time?" He's like, "No, I just met him, but he says he's my cousin." And
Yeah.
Orryn was like, "That's suspicious," but Devin was like, "This is my first day. I probably shouldn't derail these guys." So Alfin was allowed in to watch the interrogation and was very intently watching Slade, and as Slade gave answers, and Slade was very hesitant to give any information, saying you can kill me or I can talk and then I'll die. And then that's when Vinaya crit on the intimidation and we finally got information.
And I feel like I remember, the most notable part of that we kind of glossed over a bit was that Slade had been, really worried about us leaving Slade alive in the conditions in which...
I think you said a name wrong there. You say Alfin was worried about Slade?
I think Slade was worried about Alfin being there and being left alive with Alfin. And I think that was what was being implied by the way Slade was really worried about that.
It could be, though that's not at all what I was threatening. I was threatening to just lock her in this room alone and for us to leave so she could starve to death in the dark.
Gotcha.
But that may also be true. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's only what I
that makes
remember.
sense, given your information. But anyway, the others, which is Vinaya and the crew, they behead Slade. And Alfin lets out a big sigh of relief when Slade dies.
I just want to make a quick corrective note. This was never an official name, but so just to clarify where this comes from. So for during those 6 months in which Vane, Vinaya, and Orryn were hunting down Smokework, before joining the rest of the group. One of Vane's things was he was constantly trying to get the three of them to adopt a group name, including various names like the Emerald Arrow, the Golden Three,
I love this
the
so
Reign
much.
of Glory.
Every
Oh, so
session
good.
took at least
Oh
like
my
5
God.
minutes, a wonderful 5 minutes, to take us through Vane's new ideas for like, can we please name the group any of these things?
And both,
You.
yeah, that was definitely one. Yep. Which is one of my favorites. But they always rejected the concept of naming the group. When we joined with Rurik and Obadiah and Audley, after a little while, Vane had started to refer to it. Had been like, because Vane wasn't super committed to these guys that are here that we're moving in the same direction of, but we don't seem to be a group right now. So he was always talking about it as like Vane, Vinaya, Orryn, and the others. And so he had always been referring to that group of three as the others, and he got very envious at one point because I think Obadiah and Rurik in particular rallied a bit around that, and he was like, "They have a name. Why can't we have a name?"
Rurik totally did. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I see Devin just like that.
No, sorry, I'm listening and I'm participating, but work people are also bugging me about things, so I'm
I see.
trying to get them to leave me alone. And yes, continue.
All right. So I've got a couple more notes, and then I promise I'll stop talking. So
Please don't. Please don't stop talking.
We go and introduce Alphen to the dwarves, and we tell them that the orcs have been taken care of. And Namira was really pleased to see another dwarf, Alphen.
Yeah, we fucking did that, didn't we?
Yeah, we're such great adventurers. United two dwarves. Namira was happy. Alphen's happy. Everyone's happy. Rurik was very happy to see his cousin happy.
Mm-hmm.
So we head back to Sussex on the way to Kronos.
Yep.
And along the way, we see someone camping on the path.
We
God,
do.
another traveler, just kind of
Yeah.
having a nice restful campfire for themselves,
Exactly.
with no ulterior motives.
And the traveler gives us the call sign, but we, and I should just say Rurik, misses it, or I should say Paul, misses it 100%
The
completely.
rest of us are all just like giggling frantically, unable to control ourselves.
And Paul's sitting here like, what the hell am I doing wrong? Like, I picked up that you guys are giggling and all that, but
As this NPC is just like even more forcefully finding ways to include numbers in his
Yeah.
sentence.
Oh,
Yeah.
The important thing is that all of our characters at that point got there after this, so all of us
Yeah.
knew the thing, but we couldn't say anything because our characters didn't know
Yeah.
the
Right.
thing. I had to go stand in the bathroom because Paul was just not picking up. Jared at one point sat up in his chair and like grabbed the table and looked at Paul in the eyes and was like, "Yeah, I would like. I think 6 bowls of soup is a good amount of soup." And Paul was like, "That's a lot of. That's too much soup." It was like, we got to the point where Jared was done, and then Paul said a sentence with a number in it, and Jared was like Paul was like, "Yeah, like maybe 3," and Jared was like, "Yeah, or 9," and Paul's like, "No, that's still too many." Like I don't know what like it went back and forth forever. So I had to leave
did.
and let it
It was
finish
great.
because I was like, "There's no way I'm not going to spoil."
It's like, I'd like 6 soups. Would
Yeah.
you like 6 soups?
So, okay,
was
time
a
out,
section that was-
everybody.
It was a session where Jared had been like, "Hey, are you guys good to go for like another 45 minutes?" And we were all like, "Yeah." And then we had to just leave this person behind because Paul couldn't pick up, and so we ended the session early because like Jared was like, "Well, I don't have anything else planned." So never mind."
I vaguely remember that now that you say it.
Yeah.
So hang on, time out. In my defense, which, oh my god,
Wait.
I'll get to that.
Just to clarify too, this is exactly why Paul earlier said if the
Yeah.
GM says at the start of the session,
Yeah.
remember this thing that I told
Yeah.
you about that's really important.
This is all the same session. So at the start of it, I don't remember exactly how it happened, but like we came up to this solo traveler like cooking stew or something, and I think one of the first thing he said was like, "There are 4 trees" or something like that.
Mhm.
And so Paul immediately thought, "This is well." Before he even said that, I was like, "This is absolutely an ambush." And I think that was partially metagaming because Jared was like, "Are you guys okay to go 45 more minutes?" And I'm like, "Okay, that's about 1 combat." So he says something about the trees, and Paul's like, "This is definitely an ambush." And so yeah, I'm like, that's what I thought everyone was like laughing at, is like, there's gonna be people, or like, watch out. And then he goes to the stew, and I'm like, yeah, that's a lot of bowls of stew for 1 person. There's definitely an ambush here. No, Paul nat 1'd his insight check there. So yeah, that happened.
In that session that I wasn't there for.
Oh,
That also has like no story. It's just one of her favorite stories.
I was
So
gonna
you
say,
read
Yeah.
that.
I enjoyed that thing.
Oh, but oh my goodness, this continues. Don't worry. Don't worry. That is not the end of this particular call sign.
The
Yeah.
implications.
But real quick, yeah, I was like, why wasn't Audley there helping us? And yeah, if you were gone for that session, that makes sense.
The
Uh,
one int based character among the ones who
Yeah.
had that encounter. Yeah.
So-
Yeah,
yeah.
because Scout wasn't at the. That was my first session that I played, and Scout hadn't. I hadn't met Scout yet.
So yeah,
Yeah.
Scout wasn't there. You 3 were new characters, and then so it was between me and Obadiah. I failed miserably, and yeah, Obadiah didn't know it. I think Obadiah didn't even say anything to this traveler.
I think Yuhung forgot too, but Yuhung wasn't in the conversation, so he was like, "Yeah, Paul seems to understand what's going on." So
They're throwing numbers at each other. This means something.
Oh my god! So that's all that I took notes on my notes of. That's all I was prepared for this session for. So you all can take it from here. I've done my job. I'm
Amazing.
good.
Bravo.
You've definitely taken us up to where we all are, so that
Yeah,
except
and you
maybe
guys,
Scout
are
is
here now.
disappearing.
You take it.
I think we're losing Scout. I see frozen Scout.
No, Scout.